Part 16. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 152. Fortunately, the wind stopped when it rained. Otherwise, with such heavy rain and wind, there would be no need to go out. Han Qian put away his umbrella and sat in the car. Ji Jing's BMW was warmer than the Pala. Mira felt so comfortable. Mainly clean. Nursery Rhyme's eyes were very useful, and as soon as she started the car, she screamed strangely. Liar Han! Didn't you say that your car was rented? Then who is this Porsche? Warm. What about the BMW? Ji Jing's. As expected. Han Qian, you are indeed a liar. Look at the way Minister Ji looks at you, so shy and embarrassed. If no one hates you enough, Han Qian, you like to lie to such a big-breasted and brainless woman. Han Qian drove the car seriously and replied casually. What does it mean to lie? We have a good relationship, but why does it change in your mouth? As a teacher, can you be more pure in mind? I sent you home the day before yesterday, but you still called me blind while chatting with Nuan Nuan? Do you know what repaying a favor is? How about I pledge my life to you? I can go to the hall and go to the kitchen. I'm afraid you'll strangle me with your belt when I'm in bed at night. Don't be ridiculous. Tell me who put Yan Qinking's bra on my head. Tong Yao fiddled with her phone and pouted in disdain. Aunt Ji, I'm not that boring. Ji Jing? Probably not. Han Qian felt that the last person he should doubt was Ji Jing. How could she do such a thing with her temperament? But think about it again, Ji Jing is very sharp against the monster nursery rhyme. Thinking that he couldn't ask anything from the nursery rhymes, Han Qian simply stopped asking. While driving, he found Guandagu's phone number. After getting through, he couldn't help but start to greet. When Guandagu knew for when the women were all at Han Qian's place, they whispered if they could come over for dinner and see the excitement. Han Qian shivered in anger, hung up the phone and stepped on the accelerator. This startled Tong Yao, who was sitting in the passenger seat, and shouted whether Han Qian was sick, and then whispered that he was indeed sick. After getting out of the car, Tong Jiao waited for Han Qian under an umbrella. The two of them walked into the supermarket, which surprised passers-by. A woman holds an umbrella for a man? Although this man is very handsome and his family should be considered well off, the girl holding the umbrella is also a beauty of that level. Has the world changed? The world has changed and Han Qian doesn't know, but this nursery rhyme doesn't care about Han Qian when he goes to the supermarket, and doesn't ask for any of his opinions when eating or drinking. This seems to be the advantage of an independent woman. Nursery rhyme is good at cooking, and she doesn't know how to choose things. Later, I asked Han Qian if he knew how to cook this dish. She could do it herself. Han Qian, who had nothing to do, changed a car and went to the snack area. If he wanted to shut up women, he had to block their mouths first, especially Yan Qingqing and Wen Nuan. Thinking about it, they all got together. It's over. After casually throwing the delicious-looking snacks into the car, Han Qian wandered aimlessly, but slowly he saw the figure of nursery rhyme walking into the fresh food area. At checkout, it was 540 yuan. Han Qian's face turned green, and he kept comforting himself in his heart. Yes, yes, men should be more generous. He piled things in the trunk. Han Qian said when he got in the car. I don't do seafood. You can prepare crabs and shrimps yourself. If you don't do them, I will buy a fish tank and raise them. There's no need for you, a sick man. Han Qian couldn't figure out how he provoked this monster. He started the car and asked in confusion. Unexpectedly, this question made the nursery rhyme explode. He turned around and glared at Han Qian and screamed. If I hadn't met you, I wouldn't have been fired. If I hadn't been fired, I wouldn't have borrowed money. I wouldn't have gone to number 3 high school. If I hadn't gone to number 3 high school, I wouldn't have maxed out my credit card and been carried home by your princess. Everything. It's all you. What does it have to do with me? Han Qian, let's die together. Do you believe I can put it in the trunk for you? Unexpectedly, this monster was eager to try. Han Qian decisively gave up communicating with her. This was simply too painful. Is this what she did as a teacher? The car drove into the underground parking lot. The old guard who couldn't handle anything and made Yan Qingqing feel embarrassed was convinced by the nursery rhymes. He opened the door obediently and walked out of the security room to hold an umbrella to watch. This made Han Qian a little impressed. It turned out that nursery rhymes were not only about his virtue, but also about everyone. It's not like she looked pure and easy to talk to when we first met. Sure enough, the sea water cannot be measured, and monsters do not look at appearances. And this woman is very stubborn. She has to take the food she bought herself. No matter how hard it is, of course she will not care about Han Qian. When she returns home and looks at the 3 women lying on the sofa, she spits out 2 nursery rhymes with a black face. Character. Waste. The 3 women sat up at the same time. When they walked into the kitchen and saw Tong Yao holding a kitchen knife and cutting the live crab on the cutting board into 2, they were all scared. Nuan, who loves eating crabs the most, was the first to escape. Horrible. The strong Yan Qingqing walked into the kitchen, and then saw Tong Yao lifting the lid of the sky with his bare hands. Who wouldn't be afraid? Anyway, Han Qian went to the 2nd floor early to change the sheets and quilts. He definitely couldn't sleep on the sofa tonight. He let Nuan and Tanjeo sleep in her room. Yan Qingqing and Jijing slept together, and Jijing's quilt needed to be replaced. Han Qian understands how much trouble misophobia can cause people. Although it is not a misophobia like Jijing, it is not much different and the feeling is the same. After finishing the work, I was sweating all over again. I took a pill and guessed that if I slept for a night, it wouldn't be a big problem tomorrow. They said that Han Qian would cook for them, but it was a pity that the nursery rhyme didn't give him a chance at all. He didn't let Han Qian into the kitchen. Standing at the door of the kitchen with a shovel in his hand, he yelled coldly. Why do you, a grown man, just work in the kitchen? You have time to deal with your work and your concubines. Han Qian was driven out by nursery rhymes. Fortunately, the 3 women in the living room were busy with their own affairs and did not hear the word harem concubine mentioned in the nursery rhyme, otherwise Han Qian would suffer again. Standing behind Yan Qingqing, Han Qian frowned and looked at the text on Yan Qingqing's phone. Picture, said in a deep voice. Have you finished handling the company's affairs? Why are you looking at clothes again? Do you really want to do what I say about the water park? I haven't calculated this plan carefully, and the water park is very big. You'd better let the planning department people are refining it, and the publicity must keep up. Tomorrow I will go to Director Qian's place and cook. Yan Qingqing put down her phone and turned to Han Qian with a narrowed smile. It's still unclear whether I can cook or not. I guess I know you're sick and you won't be able to cook. I'll prepare some gift boxes to send over tomorrow and I won't cook. Also. After saying that, Han Qian walked towards Wen Nuan. Wen occupied the 4-seat sofa by herself, showing off her beautiful legs without hesitation. Han Qian sat on the coffee table and patted Wen's legs, smiling. There's nothing happening on the sensible side? Tu Xiao didn't have any effect. Nuan glanced sideways at Han Qian, looked at the roof student and said helplessly. I don't know. I don't see any movement now. Let's wait. When Han Qian was about to ask about Jijing's family affairs, Tong Yao's food was already ready. He called out to 3 losers to bring out the food. As a result, the 3 women were obedient and went to help. Here, their identities it doesn't quite work, and the nursery rhyme doesn't seem to care much about it. The dinner was very rich, including Wenwen's favorite crab and Jijing's favorite pig's feet. Yan Qingqing was not picky about food. 7 or 8 dishes. Nursery rhyme said while sipping her food. Is it difficult to cook? You can't do it if you have hands. Warmth, I didn't mean you, I meant you. Jijing, who was sitting aside, couldn't help it anymore and said angrily. Can you shut up? Jijing, was it you who put Mr. Yan's bra on Han Qian's head? Catch the thief. Han Qian didn't interfere at all in their quarrel, and Wen Nuan didn't listen at all, focusing on humming crabs. I haven't saved my manuscript anymore. It's not happening recently. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, A Huan. Chapter 153. After the meal, Han Qian was worried that there would be another war, so he ran away and took his computer back to the guest room on the first floor. This time Han Qian locked the door, for fear that something like a bra pullover would happen again. Han Qian had a very comfortable sleep this time and made up for almost everything he had missed in the past few days. He got up early in the morning and opened the door to the 4 girls sitting on the sofa with a sunny smile. Good morning, girls. The 4 girls, who looked very harmonious at first, turned their heads with smiles on their faces. When they saw Han Qian's face, they immediately smiled. His face was as warm as frost. Yan Qingqing put down her phone and clenched her fists. Jijing's face was indifferent and she said coldly. Who can stand up for themselves? Since you dare to do it, you must have the courage to admit that liking Han Qian is not a shameful thing. Yan Qingqing said immediately. Yes. Let's all compete fairly and don't use these dirty tricks. Yan Hu, wait a minute, who will compete fairly with you? What do you say to others? Wen Nuan dealt a blow without mercy. Han Qian still didn't know what happened. He looked at the 4 girls in confusion and said doubtfully. What happened? Lost something. Han Qian walked into the bathroom with confusion. As soon as he entered the bathroom, Han Qian rushed out as if he had been chased by a dog, pointing at his neck and asked. Who? Who did it? A strawberry was printed on Han Qian's neck. He sucked it out with his mouth, and the bright red color was clearly visible. Even Han Kinzai knew what this thing meant. Han Qian pointed at his neck and looked at the 4 girls. There were only 5 people in this family. Han Qian's mouth would definitely not be able to reach his neck. Who else could be there besides them? The 4 women didn't even look at Han Qian, but looked at each other's suspects. Seeing this, Han Qian curled his lips and said. Why don't you just tell me directly? Is this the case? As soon as she finished speaking, 4 pillows flew over. Han Qian was thrown into the bathroom and did not dare to come out. Jijing looked at the nursery rhyme with cold eyes. She felt that there was something wrong with this woman. She and Han Qian had definitely not met before. It was as simple as meeting once or twice. From going to make porridge yesterday without resisting, to cooking only chicken cakes for Han Qian, she felt comfortable living here. She had a problem. Tong Yao also suspected Jijing. Last night, she found that Minister Ji didn't sleep all night and kept turning over to look at his phone. Later, Tong Yao couldn't stand it anymore and went to bed first. Minister Ji was most likely waiting for her. Sleep. Nursery rhyme adjusted the hem of her skirt, her white calves were tight and tilted down, her hands were folded on her legs, and she laughed softly. Mr. Ji didn't sleep last night. Today is Monday. Can you survive it? Jijing didn't sleep. This time, even Yan Qingqing couldn't help but doubt her best friend, her warm eyes were very cold, and she glared at Jijing. Why do not you sleep? Facing the warmth, Jijing was still a little weaker, lowered her head and whispered. I have a mental block. There are people around me who can't sleep, but teacher Tong always hugs me. If you don't believe it, there is something on my phone about her sleeping with me in her arms. Others don't know Jijing very well, but Yan Qingqing knows it very well. Jijing is indeed like this, because Yan Qingqing wanted to spend the night at her house several times but was rejected. The only time she went there was when Jijing slept on the sofa. While talking, Jijing took out her mobile phone and played the video. Yan Qingqing looked at the nursery rhymes in the video and teased her. Tisk, 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 I didn't expect Teacher Tong to be quite wild, leopard print bra. Envy. Jealousy. They cost 15 yuan each in the supermarket. I like to buy them myself. There is no use in being sarcastic to a woman like nursery rhyme. She won't understand, but will distort your meaning and fight back. When Nuan on the side has found an ally and sneered. Haha, Yan Hu, how dare you criticize others? You didn't sleep in the middle of the night and got out of bed secretly and caught me 3 times. Why do you have the face to doubt others? What's wrong with me just wanting to sleep with Han Qian? But you said to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night and then went downstairs? If I hadn't caught you with my quick eyes and hands, I would have doubted you, haha. Maybe the two of us went there last night. There are strawberries in the supermarket. Yan Qingqing speculated and doubted wildly. Tan Jiao squinted at Yan Qingqing and said with disdain. Just breasts and no brains. After finishing his words, Wen Nuan looked at the plump breasts of the 3 women unnaturally, lowered his head and glanced at himself, and murmured in a low voice. It's actually good to have long breasts. After washing up in the bathroom, Han Qian returned to the living room and looked at the 4 women seriously. Stop guessing, there is a way. The 4 women looked at him at the same time, and Han Qian lowered his head and smiled shyly. Then let's suck each other once. Let's see who looks the most alike. I'll let you go. You can do whatever you want. Suffer death. When Nuan yelled angrily, and the other 3 women came at the same time. Han Qian was lying on the ground, actually lying in Yan Qingqing's arms. Jijing held Han Qian's arm with both hands and pulled her arm. Tong Yao held Han Qian's arms down. Legs, as for warmth, he simply sat on Han Qian's belly. Just as Han Qian was struggling, Tan Jiao suddenly let out a scream. Minister Ji, are you rewarding Han Qian or punishing him? His claws are all covered by you. Hearing this, Han Qian moved his hands specially. Jijing's face turned red instantly and she retorted in a low voice. What can I do? He is also lying in President Yan's arms, and his other hand is also on Vice President Wen's lap. Teacher Tong, if you are jealous, let's change positions. After Jijing said this, Han Qian felt how happy he was at this moment. The 4 women let go of Han Qian at the same time. As a result, the guy lay on the ground in an enchanting posture and gave the 4 women a wink. Just playing for a while. Upon hearing this, Yan Qingqing narrowed her eyes and smiled charmingly. Giant baby, go get some scissors, Han Qian. I will perform a circumcision on you. The Empress is worthy of being the Empress, so Han Qian got up and ran away. This bitch dares to say anything. When going downstairs, the children playing in the basketball court had finished their morning practice. When they saw Han Qian coming, they all stood in 2 rows and shouted in unison. Master! I bow to my disciple. Han Qian had a puzzled look on his face, while Yan Qingqing laughed loudly and was not ladylike at all. Then Tan Jiao found out that she was a student from number 3 high school. He caught her and taught her a lesson. Han Qian scratched his head in embarrassment and muttered that he had forgotten. The car is parked in the underground garage. The air after the rain was very fresh. Jijing opened the driver's door and raised her fingers to the nursery rhyme. Let's go, Teacher Tong, sister will take you to work. Okay. Noisy after noisy, noisy after noisy, no one is stingy enough to embarrass anyone at work. When Nuan squinted at Han Qian and Yan Qingqing and said coldly. You two take a taxi. If you don't go to work, I won't take you there. It's annoying, it's annoying, it's annoying. Han Qian, keep your distance from Yan Hu, or I will complain to my mother. It would be okay if Wen Nuan didn't say this. After finishing her words, Yan Qingqing hugged Han Qian's arm and said sweetly to Wen Wen. Don't worry, sister. I will take good care of your brother-in-law. I say goodbye. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 154. Taking a taxi to District 8 to pick up the car, Han Qian remained silent all the way. After getting the car, Yan Qingqing sat in the passenger seat and opened a handbag in front of her. It was full of cosmetics. Yan Qingqing touched her makeup in the mirror and spoke first. Han Qian, didn't you feel someone entering your room last night? And kissed you? You would wake up if I wrote a word while you were sleeping in my office. Han Qian, who was driving seriously, turned his head, glanced at Yan Qingqing, and whispered. Isn't it you? I felt dizzy yesterday and couldn't feel it. After saying that, Yan Qingqing put down the lipstick in her hand and put her arms around Han Qian's neck and kissed him hard on the face. Han Qian shouted to stop making trouble while driving, and Yan Qingqing giggled. I want to kiss you and I need to be secretive. Do you think I'm like them? I like to be harsh in my heart. Your mother-in-law and I will never do such childish behavior. If you like it, you will like it. If you don't like it, I won't. I like it. Why are you beating around the bush? Are you regretting it if you miss it? Like warmth. Don't worry, she is only qualified to be your sister-in-law in this life, and at most half of her butt is yours. Empress Yasha's thoughts have always been beyond Han Qian's expectation, Han Qian said with a bitter smile. Empress, what do you like about me? Can't I change it? I like you or not, you can change it. Han Qian blinked at Yan Qingqing. It didn't seem to matter whether he changed it or not. He got out of the car and told Yan Qingqing to wait in the car while Han Qian went home. At Qian Ling's position, she is not short of money or any gifts, such as supplements and the like. The gift boxes are beautiful. It is estimated that the things Han Qian and Yan Qingqing bought are only good looking at most, that is, just to look at them and throw them away afterwards. So Han Qian rejected Yan Qingqing's suggestion to go to the mall. Some of the things his mother brought with her last time were still there, nothing expensive, just some mushrooms picked in the mountains and some fried pine nuts and hazelnuts. Yan Qingqing looked at the 3 plastic bags Han Qian was carrying and frowned in disgust. Where did you dig it out of a hole? Don't tell me that you want to give this thing to Qian Dong as a gift. My mother brought it from home. When Nuan is not at home, otherwise she won't let me take it out no matter what. My old man is very good at frying dried fruits. The mushrooms are picked in the mountains and are wild. You can take them. Yan Qingqing stretched out 2 fingers to hold the plastic bag. Han Qian smiled when he saw this. You are disgusted? You are guarding this thing like a hamster all day long. You won't let me touch it? Just put it down and I will carry it when you get off the car. The more Yan Qingqing thought about it, the more uncomfortable she felt. She put the 3 plastic bags on her lap and looked at Han Qian carefully. Han Qian, if I look like this, will your mother dislike me? You are not her daughter-in-law, why do I dislike you? What? Warmth. Speaking of this, Wen Nuan is not stronger than you, but she knows how to consider other people's thoughts and feelings better than you. She will not deliberately please anyone. Of course, it's good that you are like this. Maybe the old man will like your personality. Han Qian had absolutely no other meaning, he was just talking about Wen Nuan and Yan Qingqing's character. Yan Qingqing squinted at Han Qian and said angrily. I don't like the old man. I like you. Old man is what I call my dad. Ah. It's father-in-law. Be more serious. Han Qian, I'll go home with you to celebrate the new year. Do you think I am too slow to die? Are you in a hurry? Sister is very good at giving you artificial respiration. Piss off. You'll be waiting to get off the bus. It is impossible to be bored when you are with Yan Qingqing. She will always find ways to make the atmosphere very relaxed. The car parked in the community, Han Qian scanned around and did not see the shadow of McLaren, but the business car still there. He went upstairs and pressed the doorbell. After a few minutes, the door was opened. Qian Ling was wearing pajamas, with disheveled hair, rubbing her eyes, yawning and mumbling. Why are you here so early? Han Qian, what are you holding in your hand? Didn't you say you don't need to buy groceries? Han Qian walked in and changed his shoes and left. Auntie, these are some wild red mushrooms that my mother brought over from my hometown a few days ago, as well as some pine nuts and hazelnuts picked from the mountains. My old man fried them himself and wanted to bring them over for you to try. Qian Ling frowned, tilted her head and looked at Han Qian, and said in a deep voice. Are you sure you didn't buy it from outside to fool me? Han Qian, your credibility with me is relatively low. Han Qian smiled bitterly and put the things on the dining table. He found a plate with dried fruits very skillfully and made another pot of tea before returning to the coffee table. Qian Ling picked up a pine seed and threw it to her mouth. Here, he pointed at the wine cabinet in the restaurant and said calmly. There are fever-reducing medicines there. You can find them yourself. It tastes good. It's not like those roadside stalls Wan bought. Han Qian, your hometown is in the countryside? Just as Han Qian was about to look for medicine, Yan Qingqing had already stood up and passed over, whispering that Han Qian would put all the medicine in his mouth and not let him take it blindly. Han Qian smiled and said softly without refuting. My family is really in the countryside, and it's a relatively backward one. It's close to the mountains, and it relies on the mountains and the water. My parents have nothing to do with farming, so they go to the mountains to pick some mushrooms, pine seeds, and the like. The selling point is, get me some. After she finished speaking, Yan Qingqing had already delivered the medicine. She did not disturb Han Qian, but kept pouring water from 2 cups in order to make the tea cool quickly. Qian Ling nodded to Han Qian, stood up and said to wash up. Let them play by themselves first. After the water cooled down, Qian Ling also came out. She simply brushed her teeth and washed her face. When she went out, she happened to see Han Qian raising his head and drinking medicine. But just such an action made Qian Ling notice something and frowned slightly. Xiao Qian, what happened to your neck? When asked suddenly, Han Qian almost choked to death. The water sprayed directly on the coffee table. How could he forget this matter? Yan Qingqing was so frightened that she quickly patted Han Qian's back. When Han Qian kept coughing, he still couldn't. I forgot to tug on the collar, but Qian Ling had already come closer, looking at the strawberry on Han Qian's neck, and then glanced at Yan Qingqing who was next to Han Qian, with a strange look on her face. Qingqing was with me when you called me yesterday. Qingqing, please be more careful next time. The blood vessels in the neck are relatively weak and there are arteries. Don't do this next time. Yan Qingqing was stunned for a moment, and then she blushed and lowered her head in a low voice. She couldn't explain this. The more she explained, the more confused she became. Han Qian scratched his head in embarrassment, not knowing what to say. In short, the two of them were very embarrassed, and the quarrels they often had were always their fault. Suddenly an elder knew about it, which was not allowed in Biohan. What's more, they are two young people who have never experienced anything. Fortunately, Qian Ling didn't dig too deep into this matter. Han Qian breathed a sigh of relief and was sweating now. Han Qian smiled awkwardly. Auntie, you have seen this thing. While talking, Han Qian took out a lighter from his pocket and put it on the coffee table. Qian Ling couldn't help but joked when she saw the lighter. Hey, you took all of Gao Jishi's precious little things. It's just that this lighter is a hot potato. Let's find a chance to return it to Gao Jishi. Han Qian tilted his head and said doubtfully. Did you say anything? Qian Ling nodded and said softly. It's okay if I don't return it for the time being. I don't dare to play any tricks with Gao Fuling now. But when he gave you the lighter, he was probably planning to make Lu Shenga pay more attention to you. After all, it was a birthday gift from Gao Fuling's sister. His sister has been gone for many years, forget it, let's not give it to him yet, give it to you, and then you give it back to him as if you are worried about something. I heard that you have been very close to Gao Fuxing recently. Han Qian pushed the lighter forward. Auntie, please keep this thing with you. I've been throwing it around so much that I might have lost it at some point. Auntie, let's have breakfast. I'm a little hungry. Go to the kitchen and make it yourself. Ching Ching and I will talk about women. Get out of here. Okay. Han Qian stood up with a smile and walked to the kitchen. Han Qian was already familiar with Qian Ling's kitchen. He cooked some rice and stewed the mushrooms he brought. If Han Qian doesn't cook, the mushrooms can be kept here for 2 years. Eating chicken stewed with mushrooms in the morning might be a bit greasy, but for Han Qian who had nothing in his stomach, it was just right. Yan Qingqing and Qian Ling were sitting on the sofa chatting, when Qian Ling suddenly spoke. Han Qian, I heard that you have been very close to Gao Xing'ai recently. Yeah, I have some cooperation with him. Explain. I want to carve up the remaining shares in Li Dahai's hands. As soon as he finished speaking, a handful of hazelnuts flew over, and Qian Ling became angry. I saw a lot of female readers in the comment section. Sisters, aunts, if you ask me to write a book written by a male channel according to a female channel, I won't be able to write it. Harem, harem, harem. How can I have a harem if I haven't even kissed her on the lips? After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 155. Do you think Li Dahai is a soft persimmon who can pinch him whenever he wants? Or do you think Gao Xing'ai is a fool? Go and serve me a bowl of rice. Qian Ling had already walked to Han Qian's side, and when she was about to pull his ears, she found that the food on the plate looked pretty good, and she had some appetite. Han Qian went to serve rice and dishes. Seeing that Qian Ling and Yan Qingqing were quite satisfied with the dishes, Han Qian stood aside to receive the water and smiled. If Gao Fulai was a fool, I really couldn't cooperate with him. The conflict between me and Li Dongsheng was very small at first. He just couldn't stand me. Later, it was almost all provoked by Gao Fulai and Sun Yat. It was just a suggestion at the beginning. I'm not sure whether I will do it or not, but Wu Sijuan found me and she also wants to cooperate with me. If you have resources, don't waste them, just threaten Gao Fulai into submission. Qian Ling curled her lips and said softly. Are you sure you didn't mention me? Han Qian diligently put the water on the table and smiled. I definitely have to mention it. My aunt is a shareholder. How can I not take advantage of this status? I told Gao Jishi that if he refuses, I will let Wu Siguan expose that he used Li Dongsheng to have a conflict with me, causing Li Dahai to lose shares. The child also left the company, and the gossip said that Gao Xing'ai was on my side, but you would only support Qing Qing, not Gao Xingqing, and he would get nothing by then, and he would be attacked by Li Dahai. Then what's your plan with Gao Fulai? I don't need to have any plans, everything is done with high fulfillment, because the 20% high fulfillment in Li Dahai's hands will take away 12%. In the face of threats and inducements, he will chase the rabbit away. The dog is still diligent. What about 8%? Give it to Ching Ching, and then counting the 5% you took from Li Dahai, Ching Ching has 13%, which just beats Gao Ching Cheng. She suddenly becomes a shareholder, and she will be freed from the eunuch's control and threat. When the 13th is added to the 25% in your hand, I think our side will have a stronger voice on the board of directors, and even cashing out will be enough to hurt Glory. Qianling nodded and said softly, "How confident are you?" Han Qian smiled. "Not at all, but it is absolutely impossible for Li Dahai and Li Dongsheng to let me go easily. I beat his son, whipped his wife, and took away 5% of the shares. If he didn't take action against me, I would. It feels like the world has changed. As long as they take action, Gao Fulai and Wu Siguan will have a chance. What Wu Siguan has to do is to inform me and collect evidence, while Gao Fulai wants to take their responsibility into the gutter. As long as they have one foot, if I step into the gutter, I have a solution, and I have a plan." "Explain." "Lin Zongheng hates me to death. I don't mind letting Li Dahai and his son make guns for Lin Zongheng. I haven't made a decision. I have decided to let Gao Ching Cheng pull the string. Do you really believe that I will give 5% to Ching Ching? Auntie, you are not kind. One word is missing. Don't worry about the details. The August festival is just over 10 days away. I'll come over to celebrate the festival with you." At this moment, Yan Qingqing was still in a confused state. Why did she suddenly have 13% of the shares? Yan Qingqing raised her head and looked at Han Qian in confusion, wondering. "You want to give me 8%? Do you know how much 8% is?" Han Qian turned around and smiled, then suddenly changed his face and shouted angrily. "Eat your food, why do you, an old lady, get in the way of what the old man is saying?" Snapped. After being slapped on the back of the head, Qianling angrily yelled at Han Qian not to bully Ching Ching. Han Qian curled his lips and muttered something like 3 years to rise, 1 minute, and even received a slap. What a loss. Han Qian's personality changed too quickly. 1 second he was still discussing how to use Gao Fulai, and the next second he was like a child. Qianling looked helplessly and smiled with narrowed eyes. "Xiao Qian, do you have a grudge against Li Dahai?" Han Qian held a piece of chicken leg meat in his hand and said casually. "Didn't Li Dongsheng make a lot of money? Besides, didn't you educate me not long ago that interests are the most important thing? The cash out of 8% of the shares will cost tens of millions. Add in my 5%, and it will reach hundreds of millions." Han Qian put the bones that would make dogs cry on the plate and smiled at Yan Qingqing with his eyes narrowed. "You are about to become a rich woman." Yan Qingqing couldn't eat any more of the meal, so she put down her chopsticks and held her chin with one hand, looking at Han Qian seriously. "Han Qian. It's not a few hundred yuan, it's tens of thousands. It's tens of millions. You only owe Nuanuan a total of 4 million. Why don't you keep this money for yourself? We all slept under the same quilt last night, no one's bed is the same." Han Qian was too lazy to argue with Yan Qingqing. He really didn't want to take the money. Yan Qingqing wanted to retort, but because she was misunderstood by Qianling just now, she couldn't say anything, so she stared at Han Qian without saying a word. "It's nothing big to come to Qianling's place today. I just want to come and accompany her so that I won't be bored and thought about it alone at home. If I arrange it on the August festival, I will definitely have time to come over. Even if Tu Xiao calls and invites me, I can squeeze it in. Time comes." After taking a day off, Han Qian had nothing to do, so he stayed with Qianling with Yan Qingqing. Qianling was too lazy to treat him as a guest. She did whatever she wanted. After breakfast, Qianling War Yi shouted to Ching Ching. "Ching Ching, I want to see jewelry and clothes. Have you driven over? It's open." Then let's go together. Han Qian, please stay and look after the house. Don't hang out if you don't go to work. Remember to take your medicine at noon. Don't stuff everything into the bottom. You're not a trash can. I know, I know. Qian Ling looked at Han Qian, who was lying on the sofa watching TV, and suddenly had a strange feeling in her heart. The person lying on the sofa seemed to be Qian Huan, and Yan Qingqing was her daughter-in-law. She was going shopping with her daughter-in-law. My son is sick and stays at home. This is great. Qian Ling was not sad. Since Han Qian and Yan Qingqing came here early today, they did not bring those messy gift boxes and luxury goods and supplements, but some specialties from the mountains. Qian Ling was very happy, because in this way she could feel that Han Qian had no treat her not as an outsider, but as an elder. You cook and eat by yourself, without being polite, just like you are a member of the family. During the conversation during the meal, I picked up the chicken with my hands and got hit with chopsticks, and then I said that I would come to accompany her during the August reunion festival. It's like family. Qian Ling suddenly wondered if she could burn incense and pray to Buddha in exchange for a small amount of compensation, which allowed her to experience the feeling of having a younger generation and a family after being alone for many years. Qian Ling had long been indifferent to money, and she could no longer spend all the money in her hands. She said a long time ago, if possible, she could give up all her family property and exchange it for Qian Huan and Zhu'er to live their lives again. She took out 5% of the shares, which was only tens of thousands of dollars. In exchange for the feeling of home this time, Qian Ling thought it was worth it. Qing, do you know Han Qian's waist size? It's been a long time since I showed a boy clothes, and Wan dislikes my old-fashioned look. This kid Han Qian. He'll wear a sack. Mr. Qian, if you're too nice to him, be careful if he bites you on the nose or in the face. Yan Qingqing started the car and prepared to set off. Qian Ling chuckled. For boys, it's good to have a little temper. Yan Qingqing curled her lips after hearing this. Dr. Qian, don't look at Han Qian laughing and joking. If he gets angry, even 8 cows won't be able to pull him back. For boys, it's good to be domineering. But he likes to do it. Boys, how can you lose in a fight? He even went into the kitchen. Boys are versatile. There are many little girls around him. For boys, isn't it normal to be attractive? Yan Qingqing was puzzled as to why Director Qian was so nice to Han Qian. Only Wen Nuan knows this. Han Qian's emotional intelligence for women is very low, but his emotional intelligence for elders is extremely high. He can accurately see what the other person needs and how to get along with them. Otherwise, Li Jinhe wouldn't say Nuan is his daughter-in-law. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, A Huan. Chapter 156. Han Qian, where are you? Where am I? At Qian Dong's house. Where is Yan Fox? Next to you. I went shopping with Director Qian. I'm looking after the house here. I guess I'll have to stay here for dinner in the afternoon. What's wrong? It's okay. It's just that the person who obtained Katuk Xiao's license was found last time. He is a person with real power at the Yamen Gate. Your mother-in-law has also made some connections. Can Gao Jingcheng invite such a big person? Whatever, did you sneak into my room and kiss me last night? I'm going to a meeting. Nuan simply hung up the phone. Han Qian lay on the sofa and was bored. After thinking about it, he called Ji Jing. As a result, Ji Jing whispered something boring and hung up the phone. Was that nursery rhyme? I mustered up the courage to send a text message to the monster, and 10 minutes later, more than 10 text messages came in succession. They only had the word pervert in them, but they were full screen. Feeling the vibration of the phone, Han Qian turned over, held the phone in his chest, looked at the roof, and whispered with tears in his eyes. I want to change my phone. In fact, Tanjeo only sent 2 text messages, but there were too many words. Han Qian had to divide them into more than 10 messages to read. The main reason was that Han Qian still had obsessive-compulsive disorder. He knew clearly that there were 2 words in them, but he still clicked through each one. I read all the text messages. It doesn't look like a nursery rhyme. Was it haunted last night? Remember to lock the door. Qianling and Yan Qingqing came back after 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Qianling carried more than 10 bags and shouted for Han Qian to come over and pick them up. Yan Qingqing stretched out her hand and almost all of them were covered with bags. Looking at the logo on the bags, it was Mr. Qian who spent the whole process. Qianling was sitting on the sofa fanning herself, Yan Qingqing was refilling water in front of the refrigerator, and Han Qian was squatting at the door looking at the clothes in the bag, tilting his head and asking, "Auntie, did you buy it for me?" Qianling looked at Han Qian and said with a frown and a smile, "Are you too narcissistic?" "What? I bought men's clothes just for you. I'm sure, even a rich man can't wear this thing." "Auntie, please stop making trouble." "You're welcome, go ahead and put it on and take a look." "Hey, why am I being polite to you?" Qianling was very satisfied with the way Han Qian didn't refuse, but actually liked him a little. This wasn't Han Qian being shameless. He was guessing Qianling's inner thoughts. Qianling didn't stop him when he took the bag, opened it and took it out to look at. "You can be sure that these clothes are not for giving away." Moreover, Qianling stuffed the bag directly into his arms. From this series of events, there was a 50% chance that it was for him. Qianling answered the next question with a smile, making Han Qian even more sure. "Can't refuse. Qianling is different from other elders. She has been hurt and will be more sensitive inside. She is not worried and cannot refuse. Instead, she has to show a sense of liking. It cannot be said that Han Qian is too cunning, he should think about it." Seeing Han Qian carrying a bag and walking into the nanny's room, Qianling fanned herself and said to Yan Qingqing, "Qingqing, go in and help him. Why are you two so reserved here?" If she wasn't here, Yan Qingqing might have gotten in long ago. It was because Qianling was here that she felt embarrassed and pushed open the door to the nanny's room. Han Qian, who was taking off his pants, opened his mouth to scream when he saw this. Yan Qingqing had quick eyes and quick hands. He covered Han Qian's mouth with one hand, pinched Han Qian's neck with the other hand, and threatened in a low voice. "How dare you call me to kill you? Do you think I want to come in? Director Qian has completely misunderstood us too. Don't call me, do you hear me?" Han Qian nodded. Yan Qingqing took a deep breath and let go. Han Qian opened his mouth to scream. Yan Qingqing gritted her teeth and punched Han Qian's forehead, whispering angrily, "Do you really think I don't dare to hit you? Now if you dare to ask me to castrate you, lift your feet." Han Qian was sitting on a small bed. Yan Qingqing squatted in front of Han Qian and lowered her head to help him take off his shoes and pull down his pants. Han Qian was sitting on the bed with his hands covering his underwear. He really didn't dare to move. Don't the girl who said castration may really be just a threat, but Yasha Empress is not, she is just a piece of advice. Yan Qingqing squinted at Han Qian and curled her lips in disdain. "Are you afraid of me looking at your gadgets? I'm afraid I'll scare you to death. Now turn around and I'm going to get dressed." "What the hell, I've never seen you wearing underwear." "Huh? Is it really the strawberry mark you sucked? Why did I ask about nursery rhymes? This monster sent more than 10 text messages to scold me. It's not me, maybe it's Nuan Nuan. I don't have the key to your house." You lean against the window. Han Qian, damn you, your house is on the 11th floor, lift your feet. Han Qian obediently raised his feet, and Yan Qingqing put the pants on Han Qian, then took the waistband of the pants and put her hands around Han Qian's waist through the belt opening. This action seemed to be hugging Han Qian, even if Han Qian being modest and serious, in this case. He is also a hot-blooded man. He felt himself react. Then there was a burst of pain. Yan Qingqing stood up and said indifferently, "Control yourself, next time it won't be as simple as playing you." Han Qian tilted his head and looked at Yan Qingqing with an angry face and gritted his teeth. "Are you a woman? Can you look like a woman?" "I'm not a woman, why are you reacting, Han Qian? Is my temptation to you greater than Nuan Nuan's? Nuan Nuan said that you two often sleep in the same room. 2 minutes ago, I thought you were a eunuch. You are waste of waste. Go, 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 get out." Han Qian pushed Yan Qingqing's back, and when he pushed out the door, he raised his foot and kicked Lady Yasha's buttocks. Yan Qingqing was furious on the spot. She reached out to grab the vase on the dining table to greet Han Qian, then turned around finding Qianling looking at her curiously. Yan Qingqing smiled awkwardly. "Director Qian, the vase is so beautiful." Qianling smiled helplessly and did not expose it. Han Qian, who had changed into a suit, walked out of the nanny's room and stood in the aisle between the living room and dining room and smiled at Qianling. "Auntie, how are you?" Han Qian turned around in a circle before speaking. "The suit is black and slim-fitting. It is not the loose fit for work." The suit fits Han Qian's legs. Han Qian is not tall and his body proportions are very good. After wearing the suit, his legs look better. It's very long, and with the shoes on the back, I should be about 1.8 meters tall. Black suit with white shirt. Han Qian gives people the impression of being tall and energetic, coupled with his size. Qianling held her chin with one hand and leaned on the assistant of the sofa, looking up and down at Han Qian, frowning slightly. "Why can't I see the gentleness in you? You are not as handsome as those little stars on TV. You have an indescribable feeling." Yan Qingqing sat aside and peeled a small plate of pine seeds, muttering softly. "He is not polite to begin with. He beat the big dog in District 8 until he couldn't get up. He even kicked me just now. He is a violent person and a thug in a suit." Thug in a suit. It kind of means that. I didn't really know this word before. I only learned about it after watching some American TV series abroad. The short hair is very energetic, and I look very energetic. Qingqing, you have to watch Xiao Qian carefully." Qianling joked with a smile and said Yan Qingqing was in a bad mood when she mentioned the good news. She handed the peeled pine nuts to Qianling and said angrily, "Director Qian, I can hardly stand him hanging around in front of me every day. His ex-wife, Director G of the Glory Planning Department, has almost become his little maid, Teacher Tong of number 3 high school." "Huh? Xiao Qian has a lot of luck, Qingqing. Let me tell you, it's not scary to get it, but it's a joke if you can't keep it. You have to work hard. Han Qian's mind is too flexible, you can't guess all his when you are thinking, just focus on food, drink, play, work, hobbies, just focus on one thing, don't control a man's life, think about how to make him feel like he is missing something after leaving you." Yan Qingqing was a little confused. Qianling smiled again when she saw this. "To give you an example, it's like a dog. If you always keep it at home, it will always want to go out and play, while the stray dogs outside always want to have a home." As soon as Qianling finished speaking, Han Qian suddenly became unhappy and simply sat on the ground and spoke resentfully. "Auntie, you are the only one who can use this metaphor." After saying this, Han Qian stood up and ran away. Qianling had already stood up and pointed at Han Qian and said angrily, "You're just sitting on the floor with the clothes you just bought. Come here." Han Qian hid at the other end of the dining table and shook his head. No, you hit me." Qian Ling suddenly laughed, and she burst into tears as she smiled. There had been such a scene before. At that time, when Qian Huan had just graduated, Qian Ling nagged him to go on a blind date, but Qian Huan would rather die than obey. He also sat on the ground and said these words from Han Qian. If you don't go, you'll hit me. You vote. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, A Huan. Chapter 157. Yan Qingqing and Han Qian sat next to Qian Ling, one on the left and the other on the right. Qian Ling held Yan Qingqing's hand and put it on her lap. Han Qian lowered his head and peeled pine seeds. Qian Ling didn't like eating hazelnuts very much, so that's fine. He punished Han Qian in various ways. Although Qian Wan will also live here, her character cannot understand Qian Ling's inner emptiness towards the younger generation. She is still young and only knows how to hide in her room and play games, and has nothing to say to her aunt. But Han Qian is the most suitable companion to accompany the elders. The word dog seems inappropriate. Tired of stripping, Han Qian lay half lying on the sofa and shouted. No more peeling, no more peeling, my eyes are going to go blind, aunt. If you let me do this embroidery work, you might as well let me go to the battlefield to fight. Qian Ling turned her head and looked at Han Qian sideways and curled her lips. There are only a dozen pieces peeled in total. Just now Qing peeled half of the plate and you ate it in one bite. Peel it quickly. Han Qian stood up and looked at Qian Ling pitifully and said aggrievedly. Auntie, let's change it. This kind of delicate work is really not suitable for me. Then give me a way to make money. It can't be as slow as Honor Home Plaza, and it must have nothing to do with honor. Well, I'll give you 2 days. No, aunt, please give me half an hour. Do you have a computer? Wan's computer is in her bedroom, go by yourself. After saying that, Han Qian stood up and got into Qian Wan's bedroom. When he entered the room, Han Qian exited instantly, tilted his head and looked at Qian Ling with a frown. Auntie, please hire a nanny. Why is this room so messy? Han Qian walked into Qian Wan's room with a wash basin and a rag. Qian Ling, who was sitting in the living room, did not stop her but asked Yan Qingqing, is this kid very clean? She came here to pretend to be clean. When she mentioned Han Qian's misophobia, Yan Qingqing's face instantly darkened, and she took Qian Ling's hand and said fiercely. Director Qian, I have never seen anyone as clean as Han Qian, including men and women. He wiped the floor tiles in his house and used them as mirrors. When he came out of his bathroom in the morning, he squatted at the door to pick up hair. The clothes in the bathroom have never been piled up for a day. I also heard Wen Nuan say that Han Qian always wipes the floor with a rag and washes the sheets and covers once a week. What's more, when he is cooking, he passes the cutting board once. Just flush it once. I know this. I discovered it the last time I cooked here. There are 2 knives for cutting meat and vegetables. They are rinsed every time before cutting an ingredient. Have you noticed its shortcomings? Yes. He gets angry when he's hungry, and he doesn't eat until he's done what he's doing. When he's angry, he doesn't work well, and then he falls into an endless loop. He's always struggling with himself. Last time he played a game in my office and failed. He will hit his own hands when he gets angry, but it's not that kind of obsessive-compulsive disorder. Also, he is very straight and somewhat macho. After hearing Yan Qingqing's indignant complaints, Qian Ling narrowed her eyes and smiled. Like Qian Huan, this is not obsessive-compulsive disorder, but being too strict with oneself. When he does something, his subconscious mind will think that he will do better. People with this kind of personality will not allowing yourself to fail has less to do with obsessive compulsive disorder and more to do with illness. Yes. I'm sick. Qianling and Yan Qingqing sat in the living room and complained about Han Qian, while Han Qian was sweating profusely and tidying up Daqian Er's room. Chaos. No wonder Nuan Nuan likes big money, so slovenly. Indistinguishable. For half an hour, his body was moving and his mind was not idle. When Han Qian came out with a basin of ink, his plan was ready. He poured water, washed the rag and hung it up. Han Qian stood at the door of the bathroom. He smiled at Qianling. Auntie, I will make a plan. It has nothing to do with me whether you make more or less. You can find someone to run it yourself. But the matter of pine seeds is over. Qianling looked at Han Qian and curled her lips. Are you going to fool me? You've been cleaning Wan Wan's room for half an hour. Han Qian leaned against the doorframe, raised his hand and flicked it to his forehead, smiling confidently. Doing housework does not slow down your brain function. Come. Tell me, if it satisfies me, I can give you a push when you need it. Qianling didn't take Han Qian's words to heart. What plan could he come up with in the past half hour? Now Qianling coaxed Han Qian to play and feel the joyful atmosphere. Han Qian smiled, walked to Qian Wan's room and took the tablet she had thrown on the bed, opened the web page and searched for a picture of a game on the after getting on the coffee table. Han Qian smiled. Auntie, you may not understand the game. Let me start by saying that I don't understand either. De Qianer understands the game better than me. I have played this game with her twice. At this moment, Qianling still didn't believe that Han Qian had a plan. She smiled and nodded casually, then took Yan Qingqing's hand and chatted in a low voice. Han Qian lowered his head and looked at tablet's pictures and whispered. This game has been very popular in many countries recently, and has even appeared in the World Championships. It has already gained enough popularity. Director Qian, you can rely on your connections to get the right to use the model of this game. There is no need to use the model of peripheral products. And there is no need for movies and TV shows, you just need to get the right to use the game model. Of course, this can already make money, and what I can think of others can also think of, it is just money to seize an opportunity. After listening to Han Qian's words, Qianling turned her head, as if this kid really had a plan in mind, because he said two words, of course. Qianling said seriously. I don't quite understand, just keep talking. Han Qian smiled and nodded, smiling. Getting the right to use the game's model is only the first step. I have read some information about this game. Before starting the game, a network accelerator is required to reduce the game's latency. Today's accelerators require members to use them, otherwise they can only be used for one day. We can launch an accelerator for them to use for free, and real name registration is required. In this way, we can get the information of the players of this game, and then advertise on our accelerator to tell them that this game will be launched in China soon, and they no longer need to use it. You don't need to buy an accelerator to play. Go on, I want to know what's the point of getting the right to use the model. Only big domestic game companies can do this for you. We don't need an agent. After we get a certain amount of user information, we will find another way to put the game online. Huh? Piracy? No. Genuine. Mobile game. Han Qian, honor is not involved in the gaming industry now. We at Glory don't do it. We first rely on relationships to get the right to use the model as quickly as possible. Then we will complete the plan and transfer the right to use the model along with the plan. If there is no model, they will even think of mobile games. There is no way to attract computer players. Only one-to-one restoration is possible. We only do planning and look for suitable companies to package and sell the plans. I don't know the specific operation. You need to find a smart team or the studio can do it. You can make an empty shell of a mobile game, just a few digital codes. After registering the game, package it and sell it. Short term. I calculated it, it's hundreds of thousands, you won't even notice the 1 or 2 million. Inside. Qianling was slightly shocked and asked while suppressing many questions in her mind. Has anyone done this before? Han Qian shook his head and said seriously. No one, only the first place can always win the championship. My idea is just a prototype. Kingking's memory is very good. I can ask her to prepare a detailed book and document for you. How it will work and how to plan carefully will depend on it. It's yours, I can't help you anymore. Qianling tilted her head and looked at Han Qian, then stood up and walked to Han Qian's side, pressing Han Qian's head with both hands and looking left and right, wondering. There are no gaps here, and it doesn't look like a robot. Why did you come up with such a plan for me in half an hour? Ching Ching, where did you pick him up? I'll pick up a few too. Yan Qingqing looked at Han Qian with eyes full of joy and admiration, and said softly. Director Qian, there is only one Han Qian, and there can only be one. You guys wait a minute. I'm going to make a call to one of my overseas partners. The right to use the model also requires a certain amount of funds. I want him to evaluate it. Qianling got up and went back to the room, and then a fluent foreign language came out. Han Qian looked confused and whispered. Ching Ching, which Chinese language is this? Yan Qingqing narrowed her eyes and smiled. French. Han Qian, tell me honestly, how long have you been thinking about this plan, and who was it originally intended for? Is it warm? Han Qian shook his head and said seriously. After the last rainy fight, neither you nor Nuan can do this plan. This requires a strong studio, relationships, and sufficient financial support. Yan Qingqing sighed, slightly disappointed. She felt that her brain could no longer keep up with Han Qian's thoughts. After about half an hour, Qianling came out of the bedroom and smiled at Han Qian. Xiao Qian, do you want a car? Auntie will give you one as a reward. Porsche. Ferrari. How about the McLaren driven by Wan? Auntie, I want to drive a tank. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, A Huan. Chapter 158. Before leaving, Qianling told Han Qian that there might be a party during the August festival, and she should also attend. It was jointly held by the yeomanmen and businessmen. It was said that many businessmen were invited, including Wen Shi. Han Qian didn't take this matter to heart. After going out and getting in the car, Han Qian said softly. Just now Nuan called me and said that there was someone at the Yamen gate who had 2 Xiao's permit stuck. This guy should have a good relationship with Gao Fulai, but he didn't say who he was. Can you guess? It should be someone from the PoortoRich. This person is very close to Lu Shenga and Gao Fulai. A long time ago, Li Dehai, Gao Fulai, and Lu Shenga got together. After that, I don't know much about them. You ask what's this for? Are you curious? And what is the August festival party about? This is a party where a bunch of political and money-playing idiots get together to fool the people. Of course, there are some relatively upright people among them. Li Jinhai from the city bureau and the 2 giant Buddhas at the Yamen gate are all relatively Qingming people, but their influence is too small. These things have nothing to do with you, Han Qian. Does Nuan really agree to divorce you because she owes 4 million? Is she stupid? You do not understand. Han Qian drove all the way back to the company. Yan Qingqing got off the car and went back to work. Han Qian went to the general department. The general department was still so lively. When Han Qian walked into the general department wearing new clothes, the general department became quiet instantly. Seeing this, Han Qian smiled bitterly. Go on, just pretend I don't exist, otherwise I'll always feel uneasy. Suliang turned around and leaned on the chair and smiled at Han Qian. Didn't you ask me to take the place of you, a busy person, and invite everyone out for dinner tonight? Why did you come here so soon after get off work and go shopping with Mr. Yan? Han Qian stepped forward and sat in his seat, sighed and smiled. No, Director Qian and Mr. Yan went shopping. I'm at Dong Qian's house, Daqian er, as a girl, can your room be a little cleaner? Ah, brother Qian. De Qianer was still listening to Han Qian's words attentively. This sentence exposed the mess in her room. She took off her earphones and rushed towards Han Qian, pinched Han Qian's neck and shook her hard. De Qianer was still a girl even though she was lively. Han Qian bent down and whispered to Suliang despite being beaten by De Qianer. What happened tonight? When did I tell you? Suliang also bent down, with their heads touching each other. Suliang replied. You didn't say it. I thought I would make the decision for you since you couldn't come today. The people in the general department are still very wary of you. Mainly because you are too violent and they are a little scared. I want to use you to treat me. I want to calm down the relationship for a while. Who knew you would be coming over from get off work soon? Oh, I'll go get the money later. What the hell, I'll make the decision for you. I've already prepared the money. It's normal for a department to go out to eat, but we're not doing it this time. Let's just say it's your treat. I'll pay for it. They owe you a favor or think you are a good person, so your job will be easier to do in the future. Buy people's hearts. Not really, but it's almost the same. You tell your ex-wife tonight that you don't let Mr. Yan and your ex-wife go there. It will cause trouble and everyone won't be able to let go. The two handsome guys in the general department were whispering with their heads held high, which would inevitably make people think that there was something wrong with their sexual orientation. Lu Zhuolong couldn't stand it any longer, so he stood up and walked forward to grab the backs of the two guys. The leader forcibly broke away and complained. Can you two stop spoiling the style of our general department? Those who know you are normal, but those who don't know think you are having sex? Han Qian, if you invite everyone to dinner tonight, I won't be polite to you anymore. But, as the deputy minister, I will bear the responsibility for this drink. Don't argue, you haven't paid your salary yet. Lao Lu is not very smart and has some minor problems, but this is normal. How can a man say he doesn't like beautiful women? He has restrained himself a lot. At the same time, he doesn't have much wealth as a person and is rather warm-hearted. Han Qian grinned at Lu Zhuolong. Brother Lu, I really have some money today. I've been here for so long, and everyone has always taken good care of me. No one snitches on me, who spends 3 days fishing and 2 days drying nets. I've done all the work I'm supposed to do, and I'll have something good to eat at night. It's just money. But I can eat a month's salary. The members of the general department agreed with a smile and did not say anything about what they must eat. Yang Lan, who had been listening in the office for a long time, stood up, opened the door, and smiled at everyone. I'll be with you tonight. Han Qian has money, so you don't have to save money. If things go bad, someone will reimburse him. After listening to Yang Ian's words, the members of the general department showed ambiguous smiles and breathed a sigh of relief. Maybe Han Qian was really easy to get along with, but Han Qian was a little unhappy. He looked at Yang Lan resentfully and whispered. Road. Sister Yang, why are you taking the lead? Who should I ask for reimbursement? Yang Lan looked at Han Qian with narrowed eyes and said softly. Okay. Now when you ask for leave, you go directly to Mr. Yan and don't tell me. When Xiao Yang told me yesterday that you had this idea, I thought I would reimburse you. Since you didn't tell me when you asked for leave, then you can go find Mr. Yan, and I'll ask Aunt Ji if you have time to spend the evening with her. It seemed that Yang Lan was angry. Han Qian sighed and leaned back on the chair and looked at the roof. Why did he have so many days? After staying at home for 3 years, Han Qian really didn't know how to socialize with others. He sent a message to Nuan and told her in detail that the work was going to have a dinner in the evening. He marked in parentheses that there was no Yan Ching Ching. Nuan just replied with a good. Just when Han Qian put down his men, Sul Yang and De Chiener stood up at the same time, staring at Han Qian's neck from left to right. The two of them had a curiosity in their hearts. Just when De Qianer couldn't help but ask, Ji Jing came, walked into the door and said, Han Qian, how is your neck? Last night Wan, what were you looking at? De Chiener and Sul Yang looked at each other, then looked at Ji Jing with ambiguous expressions. Wan chuckled. Sister Ji, you are so wild. Ji Jing tilted her head and said doubtfully. What wildness? Han Qian looked at the roof and said helplessly. The two of them are saying that you printed these strawberries for me. I'm so annoyed when I mention this. Han Qian rushed out of the general department with a series of AHS. The members of the general department unanimously decided that Han Qian was not a bad-tempered person, but that he had a serious mental illness. In the lobby on the first floor, Han Qian winked at the security captain. Come on, let's fight the landlord. Hua Luo patted her trouser pocket and shouted again. Come on, win my money. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, A Huan. Chapter 159. The landlord fight finally started, and after playing in the security room for more than half an hour, Han Qian was given a nickname by the security guards. A boy who spreads his wealth. Han Qian could accept this loose wealth, but this boy. It's humiliating to be true. There was still half an hour before he got off work. Han Qian called Guan Degu and asked where the environment was good, the food was good, and the security was better. Now Han Qian was afraid of getting into fights, so he would fight once or twice. Okay, it's okay to fight. Did you attract something while walking at night? If you have time, you should find a fortune teller to tell you when you can say goodbye to your virginity. Guan Degu introduced him to a barbecue restaurant in District 8, the one with performing arts. If you want to sing afterwards, you can go to your own karaoke bar. No one will disturb you. When Han Qian was confused, Guan Degu lowered his voice and whispered. Brother Han, you can sing for free, you can drink as much as you want, you can eat the fruit plate until you get tired of it, and my little sister also has it, it's definitely all. Stop talking. I'm going. A crooked miser. Members of the general department gathered at the main entrance when they got off work. I heard that manager's son from the public relations department would also bring a few employees there to liven things up. The public relations department is a place that all men and women in the company yearn for, and the beauties and handsome guys there are of the highest quality. Not that other departments can compare, Han Qian and Sul Yang are also a bit inferior. Fang Shanshan held De Chiener's hand and said excitedly. Wan, look, someone from the public relations department is here. Shanshan's voice alerted everyone, and everyone turned to look. Han Qian was also a little uneasy. This, Sun Ya, this woman, does have a lot of trouble. 6 people have come from the public relations department, including Sun Ya, 2 men and 4 women. The 3 beauties walking in front each have their own merits. The yellow high-waisted A-line beauty attracted Han Qian's eye. The most amazing thing about this girl is not her face, but her face. It's not the makeup, it's the perfect pear figure. The plump breasts, the voluptuous waist, the slightly exaggerated hips, and the twisting of the waist when walking, these are the aphrodisiacs of walking. Ji Jing's figure is somewhat similar to hers, but Ji Jing is not as seductive and coquettish as she is. She has an hourglass figure and is not as boldly dressed as this girl. The girl walking on the left has short hair and is wearing a very popular plaid skirt, a white shirt, and a pair of small leather boots. This girl's figure and appearance are not outstanding, giving people a pure feeling of a student, especially when she smiles, her eyes turn into small crescents, and she is very tolerant and makes people feel protective. The other girl, is not a girl to be exact, but a woman. Wearing pencil pants, a white shirt, long black hair tied into a ponytail, with black rimmed eyes, she looks at people with a cold gaze, typical of a cold lady. The Pig brothers in the general department had already looked straight. Suliang bumped Han Qian's ribs with his arm and whispered. Sun Ye really spent a lot of money. The three female generals in the public relations department were willing to spend it. General? Female general. Han Qian turned his head and asked, slightly confused. Suliang curled his lips and replied in a low voice. What is the mission of the public relations department? To solve the negative impact of the company. The big public relations department is responsible for resolving customer dissatisfaction. The small public relations department faces the media and news. It is said that there is no customer that these three female generals cannot solve. Oh. Han Qian nodded and started to measure the two men behind him. One of them looked younger than Han Qian. He had brown textured hair, fair skin, a smile on his lips, and a pair of charming eyes. Han Qian was extremely envious of his long legs. This young man should be about 1.85 meters tall. The other one is a man in a suit and tie, about 30 years old, with a stern face, wearing brand name clothes and a diamond earring in his left ear. He should be in the same group as that cold lady. Dakianir's eyes were always on the young man, and he murmured infatuatedly. Looks like Li Kyun-suk. So handsome. Han Qian couldn't help but smile bitterly after hearing this, turned around and walked towards Yang Lan, smiling bitterly in a low voice. Sister Yang, it seems like these chicks in our general department can't bear it anymore. Why does Sun Ya want to come over and join in the fun? Yang Lan looked at his useless subordinates and said helplessly while covering his forehead. I don't know if I can bear it. When I went to find Ji Jing, I met Sun Ya. She asked if you were in the office and wanted to come over and ask if you had time in the evening. I just told her that you would invite everyone, let's have a meal together to lighten the atmosphere, and then it becomes like this, hey. Fortunately, you and Suliang, got it? You're the only one left. What's wrong with Suliang? When Han Qian turned his head, he realized that this guy Suliang had already started to get close to girl Yelai. He called her a sister and said it was sweet. Girl Yelai was teased and giggled, and the plumpness in her chest followed the laughter. Trembling, as for Dakian and Fang Shanshan, they were already chatted up by the long-legged guy, and they were having a great time chatting. Several mature sisters in the department and the cold man were also talking. This spring is coming? Isn't this autumn already? Shame on you. Lost it at home. At this time, a deep voice came from behind Han Qian and Yang Lan. Don't worry, I'll still stick to my position. Lan Lan, you are my true love. Han Qian and Yang Lan raised their heads at the same time and pressed on Lu Zhulong's head, pushing the guy away. Then Han Qian took a deep breath and stepped forward, reaching out to grab the back collar of Suliang, who was exchanging contact information with Miss Yelai. Dragged away forcefully. Suliang fell farther and farther away from Sister Yelai, and began to curse Han Qian in his heart. He deserved to be a virgin. With a smile that he thought was sunny on his face, he smiled at Miss Yelai. Sister, wait for me. My brother may need to arrange some cars. Miss Yelai covered her mouth and smiled sweetly. She was not disgusted with this Suliang. After all, everyone in the company knew that he and Han Daxian'er were brothers. If Han Qian didn't fail, he would be good in the future. Han Qian put his arms around Suliang's neck and pinched her. Under the armpit, he gritted his teeth and said angrily. Can you be a bit promising? The public relations department is full of professional actors. How can you? What's wrong with the actors? Aren't actors also women? The little money you have is not enough for someone else's bag. That bag Nuan also has, it's more than 30,000 yuan. Brother Chien. I understand. As long as you know. I'm going to eat soft rice. Do you really like her? If you really like her, chase her. I'll throw money at you, but if it doesn't work out, don't live and die with me. Suliang raised his head and stuck out his tongue to lick the corners of his mouth, broke away from Han Qian's restraints, straightened his clothes and laughed. You really think I'm stupid? It's just a friendship between the two departments. It's just a little more enthusiastic. While Han Qian and Suliang were chatting quietly together, Sun Ya, who was dressed coquettishly, stood beside Miss Yalai, holding a delicate leather bag in front of her with both hands, leaning forward slightly and smiling. I've heard for a long time that there is some ulterior secret between young Master Han from the General Affairs Department and young Master Su. I only found out after we met today. It's over. There is no way our Lily can win young Master Su's favor. Suliang smiled, and Han Qian smiled at Sun Yat. Oops. Minister Sun, you are so mean. You must be resentful that I was rude to you last time. You hid such beauties from us so that we could not get to know each other. I will punish myself with a few drinks in a while. Hua Luo hugged Suliang's shoulders and whispered. Do you think Sun Ya looks like a mama sang? Puff. Suliang couldn't help laughing. When they heard that the location was set in District 8, everyone's expressions changed. District 8 was not peaceful at night. Drunk hooligans were everywhere. Especially the two men from the Public Relations Department, who showed resistance. Sun Ya rolled her eyes, squinted and smiled. Let's go, let's go. Brother Qian has the final say as to whether the 8th district is chaotic or not. I really want to see how chaotic the 8th district is after dark. Mr. Han, have you said hello to Mr. Guan? Han Qian smiled and nodded. Don't worry, it's okay. A large group of 20 people took a taxi to District 8, but Yang Lan was the only one driving. She wanted to send Bai Bei to Xiaoyang Jia first. Han Qian sat in the passenger seat of the taxi, followed by the student girl and the cold lady. Suliang and Miss Yalai walked alone. Dakian chose to drive, and he could only sit in a McLaren for one season. This little rich woman. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 160. Something went wrong when Yang Lan sent Xiao Baibei to Yang Jia's place. When the little girl heard that she was going out for dinner at night, she wanted to come over no matter what. It was okay for Xiao Baibei to be disobedient, and little Yang Jia also wanted to come over to join in the fun. Yang Lan was embarrassed when she called Han Qian, and Han Qian said with a smile. Then come over. Don't worry, Sister Yang. I can still talk here in the 8th district. I'll take the kids to have a meal. It's lively. After the meal, you can just take Xiao Baibei back. It can only be the... Yang Lan glanced at Xiao Yangxia, who was sitting in the passenger seat, and snorted coldly. She was the one who was behind the scenes, instigating Xiao Baibei to make a fuss. After staring, Yang Jia turned to look at Xiao Baibei, who was sitting in the back, and gritted her teeth and said angrily. You will go home in the evening. Don't be afraid, Baibei, my aunt will sleep with you at night, sister. Have you ever considered looking for? Shut up. You need to have a relationship first and worry about me. I'm still young. Roll. Yang Lan also supported it. In District 8, the waiter was setting up a barbecue with music. Guan Degu had already told the manager to leave a few tables in good locations. The manager asked in a low voice if there were any distinguished guests, but Guandatu only said the word brother-in-law. In their circle, anyone who is called by name just doesn't take anyone seriously. They can't call them Han Chien and Brother Han. They might as well call them brother-in-law. A large number of people walked into the music grill bar. No one needed to order. The small hot pot for one person was already served on the table. The sliced meat, tripe, side dishes, barbecue, beer, and cold drinks needed for the hot pot began to be served on the table. I prepared several boxes of yunion and placed them on the table. Han Chien sat in the middle, closest to the stage. There was an empty seat between him and Sul Yang, which was reserved for Yang Lan. Lu Zhuolong looked at these two guys resentfully. These are two torches, roasted. He couldn't get close to Yang Lan. On the other side of Sul Yang was Miss Ye Lai. Originally, the cold sister was supposed to sit next to Han Chien. Ji Jing, for the rare moment of toughness, sat down directly. The cold sister and the young schoolgirl went to other tables to liven up the atmosphere. The long-legged Appa sat between De Chiener and Shan Shan. Men and women sat alternately. The handsome men and beauties at the table were very eye-catching. Sister Yang arrived late. When Xiao Baibei saw Han Chien, he let go of Yang Ian's hand and ran towards Han Chien. The little girl ran without looking at the road and landed directly on the manager's lap. The manager was the man in his 30s, panicked a little when he saw the little loli sitting on the ground with her mouth open and tears in her eyes. When the little loli stood up and wiped her tears, she called her uncle. The manager panicked on the spot, looked at Han Chien with a sad face and said nervously, "Brother-in-law, I really didn't pay attention to Ling Qinjin, Han Chien picked up Xiao Baibei and smiled at the manager. "It's okay. Children don't look in the eyes when walking. Just go and do your thing." "Okay uncle, whatever cigarette you smoke, I'll buy it for you." The manager was really nervous. Han Chien smiled and shook his head. The employees of Glory looked at Han Chien with a bit of gossip. Why did he feel more terrifying? Han Chien held Xiao Baibei in his arms. Yang Lan smiled apologetically at everyone. Xiao Yang Jia went to another table. She had no other intention. Yang Lan simply didn't want to see her. The manager stood nervously. At the table, he placed plates of dishes on the table with his own hands and asked Han Chien what kind of cigarettes he wanted. At this time, Guandegu came up from behind the manager, smiled and cursed. "My uncle's cigarettes are all from the army. Where can you buy them? Stop embarrassing yourself here and get out." The manager walked quickly as if he had received a pardon. Guandegu walked behind Han Chien, held Han Chien's shoulders with both hands and smiled at everyone. "You are all glorious elites. It just so happens that my master has recently cooperated with your company. I heard that Brother Han wanted to invite you to come out and make some fun, so I made the arrangements without permission. If you need anything, you can come to me at any time. There is another thing. What's going on, Brother Han? My master heard that you were coming over, so he specially found a small internet celebrity company and asked their artists to come over and help with the fun." Han Chien was serving hot pot meat to Xiao Baibei. When he heard what Guandegu said, Han Chien closed his eyes and took a deep breath, turned his head and gritted his teeth and whispered, "I invited them over for dinner because I was worried that they would be afraid of me at work. You made it look like Tu Xiao and I were brothers. Aren't you going to trick me?" The voice was loud, and both Yang Lan and Ji Jing could hear it clearly. Yang Lan reached out and wanted to carry Xiao Baibei over, so as not to disturb Han Chien's meal. As soon as he stretched out his hand, Han Chien glared at him. I slapped him away without even looking at him. Guandegu scratched his head in embarrassment and whispered, "Screwed up? I didn't think about it that much. What should I do now?" "You can do whatever you like. Well, just say that your master heard that it was a dinner party for Glory, and the two companies have a cooperative relationship, and then they do this and that." What? Liang, tell brother Guan that you understand this better than I do. I can't explain clearly. Xiao Baibei wants to eat more meat, so how can he eat vegetables? That stuff doesn't taste good. Su Liang pointed at Han Qian and smiled helplessly, stood up and left with the big dog. Sun Ya looked at Han Qian with her chin in one hand, feeling helpless in her heart, and said with a wry smile. Master Han, they all say that children should eat more vegetables, which are rich in vitamins. Why do you keep feeding Baibei meat? Baibei doesn't see me every day. It's not easy to see me today. Why don't you eat more? Baibei, you are so excited to eat? Your mother doesn't care about you today. Uncle has the final say. Come on. Which one should you eat? Sun Ya covered her face and shook her head with a smile. She closed her eyes and shook her head at Miss Yalai, who nodded calmly. Xiao Baibei sat in Han Qian's arms and pointed at the barbecue string closest to Han Qian and shouted. Uncle, I want to eat the ball. Okay, let's eat. No. You can't eat this thing and take it away. Who put this thing in front of me? If it hadn't been for Han Qian's words, before anyone noticed, 2 bunches of mutton eggs were placed closest to Han Qian. Xiao Baibei was not happy when Han Qian said this. He just said that he could eat it as he pleased and wouldn't let him eat it. I had meatballs in school and they were delicious. Uncle. I want to eat the ball. No. Uncle. Baibei wants to eat. Baibei, my uncle tells you that children cannot eat this food. If they eat it, they will become a brave trained man. Then uncle, you eat. Children's words are unbridled, but Xiao Baibei's words directly pushed the atmosphere at the table to a climax. Ji Jing was the first to blush and laugh out loud, and finally covered her stomach and lowered her head and laughed. Yang Lan couldn't bear it either. Stop, and gently tapped Xiao Baibei. As for Lu Zhuolong, he burst into tears from laughter, took a breath, and explained uneasily and kindly. Xiao Baibei, your uncle doesn't need it now, ha 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 ha. Han Qian's face turned blue and red. Who ordered the goat eggs? He is still a virgin. This thing has a hammer to eat it? Should he start mending it before it is useless? If it's not obvious, why don't you tell them that you can't do it? Lily looked at Han Qian in astonishment, tilted her head and asked in disbelief. Master Han, how old are you this year? Han Qian's face turned dark instantly, and Ji Jing on the side finally couldn't help it anymore and spoke. 24, ha 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 ha. Han Qian, you are already 24. Lily's face became even more stunned, then she stood up, changed the positions of the mutton eggs and meat skewers, and whispered. Then, Mr. Han, you really don't need to eat? It's up to you, Deputy Lu, to supplement it? Ji Jing finally suppressed her laughter, wiped her tears and said with a bad smile. Maybe it would be useful to eat something now, nephew, you are already 24. Han Qian couldn't bear it anymore. He stood up and held Xiao Baibei in his arms. He squinted at Ji Jing from the corner of his eyes and curled his lips. I won't play with you guys anymore. You really want to rub salt into someone's wound? Let's go. My uncle will take you to find your aunt. They are all bad people. After Han Qian left, the dining table burst into laughter. Even the cold handsome guy couldn't hold it back. Han Qian's heart was bleeding with his back to them. It is estimated that there will be another rumor in the company tomorrow. A 24-year-old virgin went to a barbecue and ordered 2 skewers of mutton eggs. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 161. Han Qian walked next to little Yang Jia with a child in his arms. As soon as he sat down, little Yang Jia brought the lamb kidneys over with a wicked smile on his face. Come on, brother Qianer will make up for it. Han Qian tilted his head and looked at Yang Jia. He still couldn't hold back the anger in his heart and stood up and said angrily. Get out of here and take care of Bai. Your sister's table is special. There are 3 ministers. I'm leaving. Han Qian stood up and was about to leave, when the young schoolgirl spoke. Young Master Han, please give me a drink. Han Qian didn't think much and said, okay. Han Qian was a little confused when he saw a young schoolgirl drinking a draft beer in one gulp. Are all girls like this now? Looking at the quilt in his hand, Han Qian took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, can you surrender and lose half of it? Sister, what's your name? Next time if I can't win against others, I'll mention you. Master Han, just call me Xian. You'd better drink it. Han Qian drank the beer with great effort, turned around and ran away without eating anything. After one drink, he was really unbearable. He met Guan Degu at the door of the health department. Guan Yunbiao handed Han Qian a cigarette and whispered, those little internet celebrities will be on stage in a while. If anyone likes them, tell me, and I will send you to your bed. Get out. Han Qian wiped his mouth angrily and then continued. Tell me how you can drink draft beer without difficulty. Just raise your head and pour it down. Treat yourself as a human being, just treat yourself as a bucket. Brother Han, I think that Butter Boy seems to be interested in Dakian. Is he from Sun Yat? Just remind me. Han Qian was still thinking about the bucket. Hearing what Guan Degu said, Han Qian frowned and looked along Guan Degu's line of sight. The long-legged Appa was courting De Qianer. Han Qian shrugged when he saw this. Smiled. If De Qianer likes it, what can we say if we are not relatives? If De Qianer doesn't want to be entangled like this, then I have to take care of it, Brother Guan. Do you think it's really helpful to just pour it down with your head raised? Okay. It's useless to lie to you, a noob at the wine table. You really don't want me to open a room for you tonight and let the little internet celebrity come to you? I'll prepare goat eggs and kidneys for you for free. Han Qian raised his eyebrows and squinted at Guan Degu. He kept trying to convince himself that this dish was not prepared by Guan Degu. Now that the facts were in front of him, Han Qian really wanted to squeeze this guy to death. Is he still a virgin? Trying not to fight against Guan Degu, Han Qian took a deep breath and said calmly. I went to my uncle-in-law a few days ago and got some news. You tell Tu Xiao to calm down a little more recently. Another thing I want to ask you is, has Boss Tu received an invitation to the Mid-Autumn Festival party at the Yamen Gate? The smile on Guan Degu's face disappeared instantly. He stood up straight and took out his phone and shook it at Han Qian. Then he called Tu Xiao in front of Han Qian. Tu Xiao just listened to what Guan Degu said. Said casually. Where is the child's uncle with you? Let him pick him up. Guan Degu handed the phone to Han Qian, slightly jealous. Am I, Guan Degu, not smart? Han Qian frowned and took the call, and Tu Xiao said directly. I know about this. I wanted to ask you the last time you came here. Even though there was an accident, I didn't ask. What kind of news did you receive? Han Qian frowned while holding his cell phone and holding a cigarette in his mouth. I am just guessing now that both Changxiang Wenxi and Glory Qianling have received invitations. Yan Qingqing said that the party is a gathering for people who play politics and money, and I also heard some rumors from my uncle-in-law, and not long ago, Brother Guan took Lu Guangming's concubines to play cards, and invited Wei Tianquan's wife and daughter to be guests. If these two people attend the party, you should be in big trouble. You mean you might touch me at the Yamen Gate? Tu Xiao's unkind voice was certainly not aimed at Han Qian. Han Qian threw the cigarette butt on the ground and crushed it. When he just raised his head, a beautiful figure squatted in front of him and picked up the cigarette butt that Han Qian had crushed. Ji Jing smiled at Han Qian. After laughing and going to the bathroom, Han Qian ignored Ji Jing and continued in a low voice. I feel that something is not right. The license you got stuck at the Yamen gate not long ago was meddling in it by a master of the procuratorate. The procuratorate should be more troublesome to you than the municipal bureau, right? Lin Zongheng wants to buy me. It should have been exposed that brother Guan swindled him out of 100,000 yuan. If Changxiang, Shunchang, Huishan, and the procuratorate wear a pair of pants to touch you, you will be in big trouble. Now take the blame when it's time to blame it, and abandon it when it's time to abandon it. Don't let little Tukun worry about you. You ask Bioz to come back now. Boss 2, do you really want to throw Guan Yunbiao out to take the blame? Do you want to play with me again? My uncle, we are a family. How can I play with you? I have some interesting things here. I will ask Bioz to send them to you. What the hell? A man's gas station. Get out of here, boss 2, do you know that I'm a virgin? Why am I having sex with you while you're here? Be careful that I get jealous with you. Huh? The child's uncle, you are such a naughty guy. I have to teach him a lesson later. Aren't there a few internet celebrities tonight? They will all be sent to your room. The child's uncle, Toot. 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 Han Qian hung up the phone, took deep breaths, and gritted his teeth angrily when he threw the phone to Guan Daegu. It really depends on the roots. You and your master have the same virtues. I tell you not to arrange any little internet celebrities for me. He has me. I don't know when Jijing was standing behind Han Qian. She also heard on the phone that Tu Xiao was going to arrange a small internet celebrity for Han Qian. She felt a little bit disgusted and dissatisfied. When she heard that Han Qian refused, he opened his mouth without giving Guan Daegu a chance to speak. Jijing put her hands on Han Qian's shoulders and whispered again. Sun Ya came here to give you face. You'd better not make her look too bad and go back. Guan Daegu looked at the two people walking by, holding his chin and muttering softly. Brother Han, I have some good wine here. Can I give you a room in Metropark tonight? I'm going to kill you, second uncle, so get out of here. Tu Xiao asked you to go back. Why don't you take the blame like a tiger? I have to find some connections to fish you out. And if I can't hold on to the wine, we can the two still have to fight. Han Qian was pushed away by Jijing. When he left, Guan Daegu clearly caught the threat and disgust in Jijing's eyes. Did this little promise protect the food? Have the two queens given up on you? I told the manager not to refuse Han Qian's check tonight, and not to ask if he didn't pay. Guan Daegu left Xiao Er herding cows. Han Qian once again returned to this humiliating position. He originally wanted to join in the fun with Gao Len Yuji. When Han Qian sat down, Sun Ya coughed lightly at the long-legged Appa. The leggy Appa stood up and left the Qian'er reluctantly, and went to other tables to liven up the atmosphere. The cold and handsome man also went to take care of the young women who were looking at him eagerly. The two handsome guys left, but the girl Sun Ya called Lily didn't move. She and Suliang got together to play with the sieve. The two were extremely ambiguous. One is a social butterfly in the marketing department. One is Neptune who specializes in fish farming. It's really hard to say who will win. Anyway, Han Qian is not worried about Suliang. It would be good to let this guy get hurt a little. Han Qian picked up the wine glass and said with a wry smile. Let's talk about it first. You guys won't poke my wounds anymore. The show will start soon. Let's talk it over first. You will pay for the rewards from your own pocket. Drink and drink. Everyone picked up their glasses, only Jijing and Yang Lan picked up the juice. Han Qian was wondering if Jijing didn't know how to drink, so he raised his head and poured it into his mouth as Guan Daegu said. Han Qian was the first to put down his draft beer. Cup, this method really works. After sitting down, Han Qian burped and approached Jijing and asked softly. Aunt Ji, don't you know how to drink? I finally found someone better than me. Next time I drink with you, I'll be fine. Ji Jing smiled at Han Qian with squinted eyes and said softly. Okay. As soon as he finished speaking, Yang Lan and Sun Ya on the side laughed, and Sun Yajiao smiled and said. Young Master Han, I really don't know if your luck is too good or too bad. Minister Ji is famous for not getting drunk after 1,000 cups. Either he doesn't drink or he doesn't stop. At the company's annual meeting last year, Minister Ji stepped on the box. Drinking, beer is calculated by the box, liquor is calculated by the pound, let alone red wine, you must learn from this. Han Qian tilted his head and looked at Ji Jing, his eyes full of suspicion, when Yang Lan spoke softly. Minister's son is right. It shouldn't be a problem for your Aunt Ji to drink you more than 10 times. Upon hearing this, Han Qian stood up, clasped his fists towards Ji Jing, and bowed to salute. Auntie, my nephew realizes his mistake. Say goodbye. Han Qian went to another table and found a way to drink. Still afraid of a hammer? When Han Qian stood up, the show also started. There were 7 or 8 people, both men and women, a combination of handsome men and beautiful women, some of whom looked a little familiar. Su Yang looked at the internet celebrity who came on stage to introduce himself and smiled at Miss Yelai. A child once asked her mother, Mom, what did you do before? The mother replied, I was an anchor. What about Dad? Your dad is the top brother. Girl Yelai blushed and punched Su Yang on the shoulder.